Welcome back to Grapes and Dates. I'm Cassy.
And I'm John.
And here we are. This is Women's Day Part 2.
And once again, we are joined by our wonderful panel of strong women. We have Angelina.
We have Heather.
We have Jenny.
And me.
And as always, my beautiful co-host, Cassy.
Because I technically was a panelist on this one, so... Welcome back to the second half. We're also going to release a full YouTube episode. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to watch it and see all of our faces, feel free to watch it and see all of our faces.
And without further ado,
here we go.
So, we've made great strides in women's rights, but what still needs to change could be on a US scale or a global scale. Okay, I could reread that with better diction if you want. Angelina, I don't want to interrupt your pizza because it looks delicious, but you are up first.
So definitely what needs to change, we've touched on some things. A lot of the culture has to change. Viewpoints on sex work, the legality of it as well, that needs to change. Rape culture needs to just go the fuck away. What was the other part of that question, John? Or Cassy or something?
It's just like on a US scale or a global scale.
I think the global scale is pretty important. And I admit my own lack of research on this, but I know that there are women in other countries who have it a lot worse. And I want to help. I haven't, I will admit my full ignorance that I have not looked into it further, but I know that there's women run businesses in impoverished countries. I think that's something we could focus on, because even though we have a lot of work to do in the US, we still have it better than a lot of other people. And maybe that's a good way to get out of your own head, is to try and help a woman in a third world country where all the awful things that happen to them. So I think that's really important. Businesses run by women in other countries.
I keep forgetting to unmute. And it just doesn't unmute. You're totally fine. I agree with you 100%. And I know that in a lot of countries, it is still legal to I don't remember the exact term they use, but where you're allowed to just kill your daughter if she shames the family.
Yeah. Women being able to drive cars or get education, or do they still do female circumcision in some countries?
I was going to talk about genital mutilation in other countries. Yeah.
Somalia, I think specifically.
And some certain places in Africa do it as well. And I don't know if you were going to touch on it, Cassy, but we can also touch on the fact that asshole senator compared being trans to genital mutilation.
Yeah, no, I think on a global scale, there's still even at the US border, they were giving hysterectomies to these immigrant women in these facilities at the border. This isn't even just a global problem. This is even a US problem. Forced hysterectomies or genital mutilation so women can't feel pleasure from sex or won't have a sex drive or whatever it may be. That needs to be outlawed on a global scale. That is not okay. It goes beyond abortion rights. It goes to some of these women, they cut off their external reproductive organs and sew it up so it's just a hole. And that is something that really needs to change. On a US scale, it's definitely rape culture. That needs to fucking go. Rape culture needs to go. We need to stop teaching women that they need to be afraid all the time, or stop having women be afraid all the time. Because while it may not be all men, it's enough men that it makes a fucking problem.
Have you heard of the husband stitch?
I have not.
Are any of you mothers? So, and I don't mean to cut into you, Heather. I'm sorry. It kind of piggybacked. I apologize. If you ever have a child and you have a vaginal delivery and the doctor talks about the husband stitch.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Right. So normally you get an episiotomy, which is a slight cut to make sure that you don't tear. Okay, that's fine. The husband stitch stitches you up tighter for his enjoyment. When we know full well as women that the muscles and the organs will go back to how they should be.
That's something that needs to change too. Vagina shaming, just because someone has more labia does not mean I've had more labia my entire life since I was a fucking child. That shit's stupid. If you're judging how many people a woman has slept with because of how her vagina looks, you're a fucking moron.
Heather?
One thing that definitely needs to change is that most doctors, if you want to get your tubes tied as a woman, you need permission from a man. to get it. A lot of my friends have tried. Like one of my friends on Facebook, she has 3 kids, and the doctor told her, you can't get your tubes tied because you need permission from your husband, and we need to hear permission from your husband, because what if he wants more children? So I think that's something that definitely needs to change. Obviously, rape culture too, and like the shaming of women who don't want kids, because like we're more than just breeding machines. There's definitely that. And like globally, women need to stop being property in a lot of different cultures. Like I did a school project, and it was in the Quran, where if a woman is caught cheating on her husband, she's buried up to her neck and stoned to death. And if a man is caught cheating on his wife, he's buried up to his hips and stoned. But if he escapes, he's allowed to go. If the woman escapes, she's murdered on the spot. So there's double standards. So that definitely needs to change globally, because a lot of cultures think that women are just property and baby makers, and that's it. So that's a huge issue that needs to be addressed. And I think that's all I can come up with right now.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to add to that section?
I mean, yeah.
Go for it.
So we're talking specifically about culture and how it should be changed, like on a global scale. I think a lot of it comes down to, a lot of you touched on it already, and like it's really hard to build on top of such amazingly argued points. I just think that there needs to be more awareness about women's pain and women's mental health. How often do we go to the doctor and say that this hurts? And they tell us, well, maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe it's just your time of the month. Maybe it's just all in your head. I think, and I've seen this firsthand. My wife was lucky enough to get, I don't think her tubes are tied. I think they're cut or something. It's a reversible procedure. But the only reason that she was able to get it is because she has a disability that gives her chronic pain. And I don't know how often her pain has been dismissed. I know how often my friend's pain has been dismissed. I have friends on Facebook from college and such who are routinely told that they need to lose some weight, or that they need to just get laid or something. So, right?
Hold
like
up,
something so crazy.
I'm sorry, time by a doctor?
Specifically a gynecologist in this case is the one that I'm talking about. I'm not going to name her because like I respect her privacy and HIPAA is a thing. But her doctor was like, well, maybe, you just need to get some and maybe like lose a few pounds and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she's coming to you with like uterine pain. And these are your suggestions? Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry, but we need to be taken seriously when it comes to our medical experiences. When it comes to, if I come into you saying that like my back hurts when I do this, and you tell me that I just need to lose a few pounds, that is not okay. Start treating women medically as patients first and view our symptoms as they are, rather than finding an excuse to write them off so that you don't have to say that you gave us a script for X, Y, and Z that you might not get reimbursed for.
Or like how many times like a woman with mental health problems, she's just crazy or too hard to deal with because she has anxiety. And sometimes she gets nervous about like people from like childhood trauma, about people not still like caring for her and stuff like that. But she's just crazy. She's just, hard to handle. Don't date those crazy bitches. No, that needs to change also.
Do you know how long it took me to get a PTSD diagnosis? I aged out when I was 18. I'm 32 and I just got the diagnosis last month. How the fuck is that okay?
Yeah, I have an interjection. So I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysmorphic disorder. So it's kind of like PMS, but to the extreme. So like it's from like a week before your period until like the first few days, and you're extra hormonal, enraged, just irate, it's 10 times more intense than regular PMS. And I went to several doctors about it because I've ended friendships, I've ended relationships, I've quit jobs during it because like you can't handle your emotions. And I've gone to doctors about it and they're like, you're just PMSing, you're fine. That's a lot more than PMS, a hell of a lot more than PMS. And most people are like, no, you're okay, you're fine. Take birth control, you'll be okay. Lose some weight, you'll be okay. I don't want
birth control is depression pills for me. Hormonal birth control fucks with a lot of women, especially if you have pre-existing like anxiety and depression. Like birth control can make those 10 times worse, and that's something that doctors don't talk about.
Birth control almost killed me. That's what made me gain weight, and I had stretch marks from my collarbones to my ankles, and I can't take it. And every suggestion is take birth control no matter what the issue is. No, bitch, I can't do it.
They tried to put me on birth control for my BPD. I have borderline personality disorder. They're like, well, it's hormonal related. Yes, it's worse while I'm on my period, but that's not the main cause. Like, people are so quick to just write it off rather than look at the diagnosis, rather than take what you are telling them seriously. Even if you have the paperwork, like, I'm lucky enough to be diagnosed as borderline since I was 14. I'm lucky in that regard, and I recognize that. But that doesn't change the fact that doctors will continually write everything off as you're just being a woman. And that is not
behind. Sorry, we're so behind on women's health in Western culture. Like, I mean, I don't even know if Eastern culture is any better, but like up until maybe only the last century, are we really like looking at different things in the way our sexual organs work and everything like that? Like, for how many centuries were things either dismissed or hysteria, that whole thing, So I feel like, we're finally at a time where they are paying more attention and doing more research, but there's a lot of catching up to do. Think of how they can treat so many other conditions. I mean, the mental health thing in general is just that needs a lot of catching up. But then when you combine it with women's health issues as well, it's like, they have a lot of catching up to do.
And there's pills for men's libido. What about for women?
Speaking of like catching up, I'm sorry, no, go ahead and then I'll.
Or like, it's just it's hormonal, it's whatever, but like, we have Viagra for men and stuff like that. But like, what about for women going through menopause who have all these problems and don't get in the mood? Or when I take birth control, my libido is gone, like 110%. It's fucked. It's over. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to touch anybody. So it's also like taking women's sexual health into consideration. Like, we may want to have sex or we may not want to have sex. And that's also okay. Like, we're not just sexual beings, but if you have issues with your libido as a woman and you want to do something about it, you don't have really many options. We can't just pop a blue pill and it's all good.
Well, you touched on it. Do you guys remember sex ed? Do you remember learning all about the penis? Okay, the only man in the chat here is hella gay. We know where the clitoris is. Can we just shut up, John?
Listen, I'm gay. I still know anatomy.
You still know where the clitoris is. And the thing is, like, men are taught that it's okay, and I'm going to go there, it's okay to masturbate. How many of us knew that stimulation did not just have to be internal? How many of us knew about clitoral stimulation? How many of us knew about what it took for our bodies to achieve pleasure, rather than how do we help men achieve pleasure?
Yeah, I only found out by accident.
Same.
I was like a late teenager. I was like,
me too.
I thought I just had to pee. I didn't know what that was.
Cassy, do you remember our friend J.O.? Same initials as, but lived near you, I think.
Male or female?
Female. Had a sister with red hair. She went to high school with us.
Yes.
I literally, she was with this guy and I was like, oh, does he give you orgasms? And she was like, no. And I was like, you need to fix that. And she was like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, either take control or tell him what to do. And if he doesn't do what you tell him, punch him in the face repeatedly until he does.
I think that's where the concept of a power bottom really comes into play. It's so as someone, and maybe we're touching into different territory here, and I apologize. I apologize a lot. We need to work on that.
That's something else women need to work on, is not apologizing for literally everything we fucking do.
Well, getting into that, I'm a hardcore submissive. That being said, I know what the fuck I want. And I think it's being able to tell someone, this is what I want, this is how you please me, in a way that is confident in who we are as women. If he's not hitting those buttons, what can we do to get them there? But more importantly, what are they going to do to learn how to get there?
And in a relationship like that, the submissive has all the power if you do it right.
Well, the power is in consent. And if you pull away that consent, then you pull away the entire interaction. And I think that's such an important thing that wannabe dominant don't understand, is that at the end of the day, if I say no, that no is final. And if you cannot respect that no, you do not deserve my yes.
And I think society has kind of put women into a place where it socially is kind of looked down upon for a woman to call out a man for being shitty in bed, because for some reason, if you do that, it's it looks bad on you, which is ridiculous. I've called a million guys out for being bad in bed, and I will continue to do so. And I encourage everyone to. And maybe 1 million is my number, and I don't care. Does anyone have anything else to add about culture?
That's a whole episode, honey.
I know.
I feel like it's so much that like I'm getting overwhelmed with all the things I want to say.
Me too.
And then just like 4 things come out and I'm just like, ah.
So then I suppose we'll go to, how do you feel about the portrayal of women in cinema and TV today?
I think it's gotten a lot better. You know, we have a lot more representation in different roles other than just the eye candy, you know, with like the Captain Marvel. I'm not a big Marvel universe person, but I know that there's a Captain Marvel, right? That's the lady.
Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch and Black Widow all kicking ass.
So there's like a lot of, and like, you know, Rey in Star Wars, like what's that whole, the Bechdel rule? You guys familiar with that? Yeah. So there's a lot more of that being followed in the good way, I guess. Yeah, I think it's getting a lot better. I mean, there's still not a ton of like different body type and different things like that. But I think there's a lot more different niches and roles that women can fall into in media today.
All right, Cassy?
Jumping off of what Angelina said, I think it is still an issue that like the fat woman in a movie is always the comedic relief. Like if she doesn't have a model body, she's just the comedic relief. And I know we have made great strides in cinema and TV since even just 10 years ago, to be quite honest with you, but it still needs to come full circle and kind of move with the times and get these women that aren't sticks to be in like a desired role. She's never desired. She's always just the fat, funny friend. And that's something that I think that still needs to be worked on.
This is so random. Sorry to jump in, but I think it was on like Futurama, and there was like something happening on the ship, and there's like the crew on the ship, and one of the crew members was like a plus sized woman, and it was just like she was just part of the crew, and you're like waiting for the joke, you know, because plus size women aren't supposed to be smart, or you know what I mean. So, and I was just like, Futurama, all right.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. But yeah, that's pretty much like she said, like I said, like it's come very far. We're not just wives or sisters now. We have roles where we are the badass. Look at Wonder Woman now. Look at all the things that are coming out, like female superheroes and female villains even in the media. But at the same time, there's still pretty far it needs to go on expanding the different types of women in cinema and their role in a movie.
All right, Heather, what is your take on women in cinema and TV today?
So I definitely agree that we've come afar, like really far, because when it first started, we were just the unhappy housewives, you know, but we definitely have come really far, but we do need work too, because a lot of TV portrayal of women and movie portrayal of women is we're still the housewife and we're still in an unhappy marriage and we're still the mother. And a lot of the shows, movies, whatever, is a woman chasing a man and doing whatever for a man. Like any Lifetime movie that they've ever produced has been big time, big shot, woman lives in the city and then goes home to visit family and falls in love and stays there and stops her entire life for a man. But it's never the other way around, you know? So we're still portrayed as kind of less than, I feel like, yeah, we have the superheroes and stuff, and like they finally made Harley Quinn not obsessed with Joker, and now she's like happy with Ivy, which is amazing, but we still have a really far way to go, you know? Like we've come so far, but we're not there yet.
No, that's awesome. And honestly, you just made me think of Hairspray. Like we've come so far, but we still have so far to go. And I definitely agree with all of what you guys are saying, but I'm going to pass it off now to Jenny. Your take on women in cinema and TV today.
So I've thought about 3 shows that have been real staples in my life and new guilty pleasures. You know I'm going to start with Parks and Rec. And if you take Leslie and you take Anne, they are very much your contemporary body type. They're what you expect from a leading lady. They're beautiful, don't get me wrong. But then you get Donna Meagle, and she is plus size. She has attitude. She treats herself. And you know what? Her game is fucking fierce, okay? Like, I have so much respect for that representation of women. The fact that Donna surpasses Anne, teaches Anne how to date, and then moves way fucking past her. I love that. I think that's a really positive portrayal of women in different types. And in that case, even the socially accepted beauty is lacking. And it's this other woman who you don't really expect expect to be like this force really comes into her own and shows us that you don't have to be a size 2. And I adore that. I have a show that I watch when I really need girl power, but I also want to feel pretty. And I know y'all are going to judge me so hard. It's called Drop Dead Diva. Okay. And it was on Lifetime. And I loved it because it was this model who was thrown into this plus size body because she died. And rather than go after Grayson and be all like, oh, I love him, blah, blah, blah. I guess they circle back to it. It's Lifetime, what the fuck ever. But to see her flourish as a lawyer and to be beautiful within her new body, within her new intelligence, opposite her best friend, Stacy, who is your classic model, gorgeous. Oh my God. Like, I love her in Doom Patrol. And if you haven't seen Doom Patrol, I highly recommend it because she's amazing in it. But these different body types learning to appreciate who they are and owning it in their respective fields. I think that is so important because it shows, it's like what Cassy said. There's that skinny shaming that's going on. There's almost this like bimbo shaming that's going on. Stacy may not be the brightest, light bulb in the shed or what the fuck ever, but she gets it done. And Jane may not be that size 2 that she once was, but she wins every case she is in court for, and she brings it on her A game. One more, and it's my ultimate guilty pleasure, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Bridgerton. We've all sat through and watched this terribly cheesy but beautiful show that has your typical like Daphne and Eloise are beautiful and Penny is smart and plus size, and it shows that all these women have their own experiences and they are not typical in any way. And it shows that no matter what someone looks like on the outside, you don't know what's going on the inside. And I have so much respect for these well-written, well thought out women who are more than they appear. I love it. The show is terrible and the show is cheesy and I hate it, but I love it and my husband loves it and we watch it together and it's our thing.
Looks like we're at the last question. What is something that cisgender men do that makes you want to claw their fucking eyes out? I added a fucking in there. Angelina.
Girl,
this is when you can lay into it.
Do we have to pick just one?
No. Light this world up and set it on fire.
Okay. So I'm going to say 2 things, and I'm sure this is going to be shared by many of us. I really hate and this is the smaller one, and I'll get to a bigger one. The smaller one, but still valid, is I hate when people are like, oh, but I didn't, you're cool for a girl, or you're so smart for a girl, or if a woman likes something that's typically a guy thing, it's so hot, like, oh, you're a girl who likes to play guitar. Ooh, I hate that mentality because that just shows how they feel about women in general, that like women are these like, oh, I can't do anything. I just complain. Like I have interests, but also like I am a girl. I like to get my nails done. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like Jenny, what you were saying before, like there's no shame in also being like other girls. Like that's okay too. But I have to say, like my number one thing that absolutely drives me up a fucking wall is nice guys. That is
Can we all just chime in and say nice guys?
Yeah, I mean,
where's my hug?
I'm unfortunately, I don't know. I'm 37 and I'm with a partner for many years now, and I don't deal with many fuckboys anymore these days. But I mean, growing up and a guy just like totally like, you didn't want a guy to get feelings for you. Like, unless it was the particular guy you liked, you did not want it because you were suddenly dragged into a scenario where you cannot win, and it's such bullshit because guys who are the nice guys, first off, they're only chasing the super hot girls and they're not actually worried about nice girls who maybe are like less conventionally attractive, but they're nice. Why doesn't that count for them? But, the whole thing about like your nice tokens don't make me spit out sex, and just the whole thing like nice guys finish last. Shut the fuck up. Get a personality, make yourself look better, take a shower, and oh my God, like, let's go off in the chat.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like, I'm going to jump right off of that because if you have to say you're a nice guy, you're not as fucking nice as you think you are. Women don't
being
nice is not a personality trait. I say this on this damn podcast all the time. Nice is not a personality. I like someone because of their personality, not because they're nice. And just because you're nice does not entitle you to shit.
Or judging like how like, oh, well, women only like the dirt bag guys or whatever like that. Like, maybe because they fuck real good or something. Or or, you know, maybe that is a problem, but then like nobody judges a man when he wants like the hot crazy girl. You know what I mean? Like people love fucking crazy people because it's fun. There's no shame in that.
Crazy
And like
people are good in bed.
my partner is nice, but that's not his personality.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not attracted.
Cassy and John,
Yes.
do y'all remember, and I'm going to text the name to the group chat because I'm not going to put this person on blast. Do y'all remember him?
Yes.
So he spent my wedding hitting on my then 16-year-old sister-in-law. I think Pete, was she 16 or 17? You remember the person whose room we lived in when I was technically homeless? Got real depressed and drank himself into a stupor because she would not hook up with him.
Cassie, we can't
Even
see
though he's real nice, even though he was, you know, he got her some wine. By the way, we had unlimited wine and beer at our wedding. It's not saying much. Routinely after that, got depressed because he was a nice guy who wasn't getting any.
I never thought
Angelina,
he was
you
that
hit
nice
the
of a
nail
guy.
on the head.
Something else I want to add, though, is guys who shame sex workers, but then consume porn.
It's hypocritical.
Did you see the thing I sent you on Instagram yesterday, Cassie?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'd never date a girl with an OnlyFans. Well, would a girl with an OnlyFans date you? Fucking no. So, like, sex work does not. I have a partner and an OnlyFans. Like, there is no correlation to being in sex work and being promiscuous. And even if someone is promiscuous, fuck off with your opinions, man. Like, we're allowed to be promiscuous too. I'm tired of men being able to sleep with whoever they want and get praised for it. And if a woman sleeps with more than like 2 people, she's a fucking whore. My number is what it is, and it's fucking high, and I don't care. Guess what? I know what I want in a person, and I know what I want in bed. I know what I want, and I know how to talk to a partner and tell them what I want in bed. And it's something to say, and modesty is fine too, even if you want to wait until marriage. That's your own prerogative, but don't shame. And it's not just men too, it's women.
It's all about choice. It's all about choice. If you have, and feminism gives you the freedom to make that choice, you know?
Agreed. But that's something else that like guys do that really bothers me. Like, you can't shame sex workers, but then consume their content.
You remember my ex from like a few years ago, the one who y'all met? He flat out told me, no, I'd never date a sex worker. I'd never date a porn star. But like, I've seen his browser history, man. Like, you can't say that.
But yeah, I was gonna go somewhere and I completely forgot. If I think of it, I'll pop it in. But
Well, it is, you're up on what do cisgender straight men do?
well, mine was the sex work thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, you can't shame sex workers and consume their content. Like, that's not cool. I'd rather be with a guy who slept with a bunch of people and who knows what he wants and like has experience than like someone who is like, oh, I'm like a 40-year-old virgin and I'm not going to date a woman unless she's a virgin and she's never slept with anybody else or whatever it may be.
Men who do that, who shame sex workers and then consume the content, it's because that's how they view women, as like a product, lesser. They see sex and sex workers as like a commodity versus the person that they want to be with in a relationship as like this like Madonna, you know, like goddess, you know, but we're all the same, you know, but they see a product and a person, whereas we're just fucking people.
No matter what we do for a job, we're just people. Like, I'm an office person by day. I do burlesque and I sell my nudes on the internet. It is what it is at that point.
Science lady and burlesque lady on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at my husband's girlfriend, she has a 9-to-5 desk job that she's like super professional about. But like, I can't even begin to tell you the shit they get into here. And that doesn't change how professional she is in the office.
Right.
And it's this acceptance, I think, that we give men where it's like, you're okay to have your bedroom life and then your professional life that we don't then grant to women.
And even men in sex work, if someone comes across it at a job, it's not a big deal. But if you're a woman, it's a huge fucking deal in the workplace. Like a guy can sell sex online and that's fucking awesome. Like you get to fuck all the bitches. But then if a woman sells her nudes, she could get fired or not hired from a job.
That might still be a problem for men though in the workplace though. Is it like if you found out like a guy was like,
if it's a gay thing, I think it's more of an issue than if it was like a straight. Like, if it's a heterosexual thing, I think it would be like 100% like, oh yeah, stud, like Nux. But if it's a gay guy, they'd be like, you're fired.
Yeah. Well, do you remember? You a queer. I think it was a few years ago. A guy who's like a math teacher, I think in like eighth grade, like an eighth grade math teacher, does like underwear modeling on the side. And they were like, oh, he's the sexiest teacher ever. And then like a female teacher lost her job for like doing some nude modeling work or doing something that involved like her body. So they hailed this guy teacher as like this gorgeous specimen and then shamed this woman for doing the same exact thing. It's such a double standard.
And I'll add to that, there was a gay porn star, I should say. And he had a regular like day job, and he was fired from it because customers complained because they saw him in gay porn. And
but they saw him, which means they consumed his material.
Exactly. By the by, most men who do gay porn are not gay. Most men who do gay porn are actually straight, and most women who do lesbian porn are also straight. Just an aside. So even if you're doing gay porn, it doesn't even mean you're gay. And even if you were, it's not a problem. But even like some of these porn stars are still straight.
They're just like, it's a living.
Basically, yeah.
You know how much
gay
money
porn pays a lot more
for being a bottom? If you're a straight man and you're bottoming in gay porn, you're making $3,000 for like 4 hours of your life. $3,000. It's to the point. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm straight as hell. Like,
I'm so straight.
No, the fuck you're not.
I love vagina.
So, I mean, I'm going to I got permission from my husband to share this story. And it kind of ties into the whole sex work thing because for a while, my husband took out ads on Craigslist because we cannot make ends meet. And when I say my husband bottomed like a champ, I do not sugarcoat anything. I had what was it? It was a really bad day at work, I think, right? It was a really bad day at work. And he was like, don't worry, I've got you. Come home. Everything is going to be okay. And there was a full sushi platter laid out for me. And I'm like, we have $5 in our bank account. How the hell did you do this? Well, he called up his John and did what he did. I mean, sex work.
We're all adults here. Just say what he did.
I mean, he bottomed like a fucking champ and gave me a full meal, leftovers, took care of me, made sure that I was okay, did all this for me. He didn't have to do this for me.
The guy who goes and breaks his back on a construction site to bring his...
It's no different.
You're still selling your body either way.
A living is a living.
The fact that someone like my husband... John and Cassy know him and have met him. The fact that he could put his own ego aside to know that, like, I was having a bad day and that I needed this just speaks to the honesty of sex work in itself. The fact that it should not be criminalized and the fact that men should not be degraded for it, just as women should not be degraded for it. I think that's all I'm going to say about cisgender men before I start complaining because there's a list.
Oh, yeah, we all have a list, but I think Heather still's got to go. So
yes. I was just about to say, Heather, what makes you want to claw their eyes out?
The number one thing that makes me want to claw their eyes out is when they hate on like anything like being gay anywhere. You know, when they do like if it's like two men on screen kissing, that's disgusting. But they'll watch lesbian porn. Or I don't mind gay people, but if they hit on me, I don't know. Do you think they're going to hit on you? No, because you ain't shit. Women see you ain't shit either. Okay? Shut up. That irritates the shit out of me. Like, I just had this argument the other day because I'm back into The Sopranos. And, like, toward the end of The Sopranos, they introduced, like, some, like, LGBTQ characters. Whatever. But a lot of people are like, I don't want to watch it now. okay, don't fucking watch it and go fuck yourself, okay? Like, no one's telling you to watch it, okay? You're gonna go home and watch lesbian porn anyway. Shut the fuck up. And then, that annoys the shit out of me. That, and they think they're entitled to our body. Like, I can't, I know probably every person has at least one story. I have a story. So one of the last dates I went on, it's like about a year ago. I gave up on dating because of this. I went on a date and like, I have a booty. I do. I am blessed with a big butt. This guy took it upon himself the entirety of the date to try to touch my butt the entire time. I wore a long sweater to cover my butt because I know what my body looks like. Took the entire date to try to touch my butt. It wasn't until I threatened to end his life and bury the body in the woods that we were in for him to stop fucking touching me. I was like, do not touch me. Don't, because I'm not shy about it. Like, if I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be touched. Don't fucking touch me. Give my permission. Consent is everything. And people they think they're entitled to our bodies because we're even slightly nice to them. Just because I'm giving you the time of day doesn't mean you can fucking touch me, okay? Like, leave me alone. I don't like people anyway. Like, don't do it. I can write a whole fucking book about shit that straight men do that annoy the shit out of me because they weakest link. I'm not gonna lie. Not all of them, but most of them are the weakest links in society.
Enough of them are the weak link.
Yes, exactly.
Not all men, but
men
enough
are so
of them.
awesome to balance the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag not all men.
Exactly.
But enough men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think my favorite thing is. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I think all of us have stories like that. To be quite, and almost every woman you meet is gonna have a story of like, guys, you're not gonna touch a dude's waist to move him out of the way at a bar. Why fucking touch mine?
I do that. I 100% do that to make guys.
Because you're a slut.
No, I do it to make them uncomfortable because I see them do it to women. So I'm like, oh, so this is okay for you. So I will grab their ass or move them with their waist. I don't give a fuck. There's no shame in my game. I know that should they turn and throw a punch, I'm ready. Like, she ready. She's got brass knuckles in her pocket. She ready.
Please tell me that you tell them that they'd be prettier if they smiled.
I've said that to the guys, yeah.
Okay, good.
I hate that too.
I've told guys that they'd be cuter if they didn't talk.
I've said you'd look cuter with something in your mouth.
Y'all are like my heroes right now.
So I have heard a lot tonight, and I knew a lot of it goes on. What is each of you like the most disgusting thing that's ever happened to you involving a man?
Do you want to go into actual rape territory, or do you want to shy
Let's
away
go with
from
like
that?
catcalling type things, like the
So,
most
like,
disgusting
safe
thing
for
a man
work?
ever said to you.
Yeah, safe for work, safe for trauma.
Geez, I'm trying to think what's safe for work, but then like
It doesn't have to be that safe for work. We're still an explicit podcast.
One of and this actually, I've never been assaulted like that. But I have been groped against my will a few times, and it was so disgusting. Like, I was hosting an event, and I had my phone in my bra, like you do, and just some old guy just like reached in, and it was just, and I actually went to every single person at the bar and told them about him, and like I told every single woman in that bar about him, because it just made me feel so like disgusting. And it was just like, it was so gross. I mean, and so I've had a couple like weird incidences like that are just disgusting. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess there's more like maybe benign, just like guy was dumb and said something dumb, but that's the first thing that pops in my head.
So we're going for safer for work territory where we don't need a trigger warning. For me, I got roofied at a club once. Luckily, I was with my friends.
That's a fucking trigger warning.
Nothing happened to me though. And it's going to have a little bit of a content warning anyway. But like, I got roofied at a club in Philly. Some of you may have heard of Nocturne or have been.
Was this the time you went with me? Or was
No, I went with Billy and BF. She's now BF. She used to be.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Just had a baby. But I was there with them too. And I started to feel really fucking weird. And the bartender roofied me, by the way, because that's still a thing that people can do. Make sure you watch them make your drink to the entirety. I had one drink and I felt more drunk than I'd ever felt in my entire fucking life. And I passed out in the car and threw up. And I was sick for like 2 days afterwards. So that's something that pops into my head as something that has happened to me. Because in some bars, you even in like Asbury and in some areas, you can pay bartenders to roofie people. And if I didn't have my friends there with me, God knows what the hell would have happened to me.
Did Billy, I mean, I know how protective he was of you. How did that play out?
Oh, he drove us home because I drove to the club. There was no fucking way I was driving back. So he drove us home and he dropped her off. He made sure I got into bed okay. And of course, he was like really protective of it. And he was like, oh, like at first, I wasn't even really sure what was happening because you don't know. But I'm not in the business of leaving my drinks to where they can be roofied. So, and that's again, something that we shouldn't fucking have to goddamn think about is setting your drink down somewhere or not holding your hand over the top of your drink when you're walking by people or something in along the lines of that. Even if you're careful, there's still ways out there where people will try and fucking get you. So that's what comes to my brain.
Being roofied sucks. It's happened to me more than once. Heather, do you want to take it away?
Okay. So I have 2 stories that come to mind. The first one, trigger warning. So I was on like a date once with someone that I met online, and we went to, it was like mini golf or something. Like it was monster mini golf. That's what it was. And he was taking the game super seriously, which I don't really take anything seriously at all. So total opposites. He was keeping score and stuff. And then at the end of the day, when we left, he wound up winning the game or whatever. On the ride home, he drove. He starts unbuckling his pants and was like, oh, I won the game, so you owe me a blowjob. And I was like, I don't owe you shit. What? And he starts unbuckling his pants and like takes it out. And I was like, no. So then he like grabbed my head. So I grabbed the steering wheel and I go, how the fuck do you want to play this? And he was like, what? So I jerked the steering wheel and almost got us in an accident on the parkway because he wanted to be rapey. Nothing happened because he was afraid of me after that. But yeah, and I reminded him that women have teeth and it really doesn't take much to bite it off. So the second story isn't as bad. So I work at a retail pharmacy and my clientele in New Jersey are all old people. Old men are really raunchy and disgusting. I had these 3 older men who were regular customers come in and grab my ass every single day. Not even like a brush by, full on like grab and squeeze every time. And I was on the sales floor. I did personal shopping. And it got to the point where this one guy was asking me a question, grabs my whole butt cheek and is trying to ask me a question. And you know, like Tina Belcher from Bob's Burgers, I made eye contact with him and was just going the entire time for like a solid minute until he thought I was autistic and left me alone for the rest of my life. Never bothered me again because he thought I had autism. Those are my stories.
Oh my God. I feel like there could be a whole like retail nightmare. Can I actually just throw one more story in that made me remind me? And this is like less skeevy than any, there's no real trigger warning for this. But I also used to work for a pharmacy and the old men are the worst. And there was this older guy who would come in and he would always make like sexual comments at me, like, oh, look at the way your body jiggles when you move or something like that. Like every time he'd come in, he'd have something nasty to say. And this was right around the time I was starting to like really gain confidence and start like clapping back to people because I never used to do that. So one day, all I said was, I don't appreciate when you talk to me like that. And he instantly backpedaled so hard that I had to console him. Like he was like, so like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, we can still be friends, right? Oh my God. I'm so, and I'm like, it's okay. So he like, after just being so disgusting and rude to me for like the longest time, all I said, I wasn't rude. I didn't curse. I just said, I don't appreciate when you speak to me like that. And then I had to console him. Sorry. I just wanted to throw that retail nightmare story in there.
Actually, that's a perfect segue into my story, and there is quite the trigger warning on this first one. Cassy and John, you remember my ex-husband. So my ex-husband failed out of MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. He is currently lying to his now wife, telling her that, you know, he was a Marine and that he served and blah, blah, blah. So he's lying about that shit. That's not the point. The point is when he failed out of MCT, I was at his parents' house because we didn't yet live together because we were 19 and we were stupid. Okay. He got really mad at me because I stood up for him. Now I'm wearing Uggs. It's winter. Okay. I said something that pissed him off and he gets me in a chokehold, literally like trying to kill me. And I'm kicking at him and I'm kicking him and I'm in Uggs and I'm kicking and that's not doing shit because Uggs are soft. Okay. So I wriggled down and I managed to bite down on his arm. He's in pain. He's upset, blah, blah, blah. I run out to my car. He follows me. Much like Angelina said, I am now consoling him because he's crying over what he's done to me. And I'm like hugging this absolute abusive fuckface after he's tried to strangle me to death because I hurt his ego. And like, to this day, when I tell this story, I'm like, guys, he's an idiot to this day. But like in the moment, you're right. Like we're consoling them because we need to like make sure that they're okay so that we're safe to leave. On a lighter note, as I've been working in retail for the past 10 years, my hair has been many different colors. I have been every color you could possibly imagine. Okay. Purple is my go-to. I was working at my job at Best Buy at the time. And I'm up front lanes and I'm ringing someone out. And this guy goes, what does your husband think of your hair color? I think it was bright pink at the time. And without missing a beat, I go, well, my wife dyed it and she loves it. And it was the best moment of my day. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wish that worked better on more men because sometimes telling them you're a lesbian just makes them want to try fucking harder. Like, oh, you just haven't had the right dick yet. You don't know. You're not sure. I actually identify as a lesbian now. And I know this is a new thing, but I am dating a man. However, this is the last man I will ever date. I would consider dating a trans man because that's a whole different territory. But last cis man I will ever date. If it doesn't work out, I am 100% gay. I do not want to touch a man ever again.
I got a room for you in Pennsylvania.
Perfect. And no, this again, like I want to reiterate from the beginning, we don't hate men. That's not what feminism is about. We just hate the culture around what for centuries men have been allowed to do to women.
Patriarchy.
Can we talk about the fact that they wore high heels first?
And makeup.
And the color pink was meant for men. Everything that people assume as feminine now was hella masculine back then.
Drag used to be just performing. Like drag used to be everyone did drag because females were not allowed in this theater.
In Shakespearean plays. Even women were played by men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not so much men. And this gets into gray territory as boys whose voices had not yet cracked. You have to walk a fine line there. But the point is women were not allowed to portray women.
Oh, and when you were talking about that nice guy trope of like he was trying to talk to your 16-year-old sister-in-law, you, me, Ange as well, has met someone who also is a self-proclaimed nice guy who only talks to women that are way younger than him.
Wait, you mean the three of us have met the same person?
I know him as well. But did you say that?
Okay.
Call him out.
Yeah, that's a whole other situation of like when I was trying to be friends with him and it was like, I'm so nice and women don't. And I was trying to be like, women don't care about nice. Yes, we want you to be nice to me, but I also want you to have a fucking personality. And he goddamn did not have his own personality.
But nice is not a prerequisite. It is an assumption as a human being that you are nice.
It's a basic.
That is the bare minimum of acceptable standards to exist in society, is that you can be nice. And if that's the bar, I fucking weep for the species.
It also sucks that like talking about feminism and women's issues in general always inevitably ends up talking about predators and assault and sex. Like it always boils back down to that, you know, and I think that's really sad too, because there's so many other things that women bring to the table now that we're, you know, allowed to. You know, women in STEM, you know, women in music and art and all these other things, the the empathy that female doctors are more empathetic to their patients and generally have better ratings than male doctors. Things like that. Like it's just sad to me that like so many times that talks about women always just boils down to assault, and that upsets me, you know.
Have you looked at the study? It was okay. They were talking about why Lord of the Flies was written about a group of men and not a group of women. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the fact that Golding chose boys is because he knew they would descend into chaos, whereas women would form a nurturing society and actually thrive. The fact that going all the way back to, I think that was like what, the early 1900s, there's an airplane crash, mid 1900s, what the fuck ever. Back when that book was written, the fact that even at that point we knew that boys would descend into chaos and women would build each other up, I think says so much about how we understand the benefits of having women in society. You know, sometimes I'll get a customer in who is a little confused and doesn't understand what they've been dealt. Phones are confusing for those who have not grown up with them. Technology is overwhelming for those who have not grown up with them. I've seen a male coworker completely dismiss them and tell them to go on YouTube, whereas I will take the time and I will work with them, and it is appreciated. I think we cannot discount the empathy of women when it comes to these pictures, the bigger picture of where we are today.
There's a lot of like sci-fi and novels that are just based around like a planet full of women, or I think it was Ursula K. Le Guin wrote a Door into Ocean, and it's like all women or female aquatic beings or something like that. I don't think I've ever read a story that was like just a planet full of men.
It would be chaos.
And like, how would they reproduce? I don't know.
So what you guys are saying is actually brought me to like something I was reading about today when I was like kind of looking up things about feminism, who was a man. He lived between 1801 and 1877. And he is quoted as saying, hold on, I just want to make sure I get the quote exact. If you educate a man, you educate a man. If you educate a woman, you will educate a generation.
All right.
And so he was a white cisgender man in the 1800s, understanding that women are the baseline of society. Without women, there is nothing. Without women, humanity ends.
Damn.
So there needs to be more equality, because otherwise the society is going to stop eventually.
And it's like saying women can't be in power because we're too emotional. I think time and time again, we prove that that's not fucking true.
Name one war started by a woman. Name a war started by...
Does the Trojan War count? Because I mean, Helen of Troy technically...
That wasn't her choice.
That's true.
She just went with someone who was better looking and probably a nicer guy.
Or maybe he wasn't nice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she just wanted a bad boy.
Spicy.
I can change him.
No, girl, no.
Don't bring us into that territory of women's emotional labor that we're due to fix men.
I have a list.
And it's not my emotional labor to fix you. I have tried to do that a million times. We'll never do that shit again. That is not my job.
The guy you and I have both experienced, did we not try to fix him?
Kaylani too.
Oh, that poor girl.
Is this the blood note?
Yeah, I think. I don't know how you refer to him, Cassy.
I think the vampire.
He's referred to on the podcast as the werewolf, I believe, but I call him Blood Note.
That fits a bit better, yeah.
Are we talking about your partner's partner, or are we talking
No, we're talking about the one that I brought to the Solar Lounge and then everyone took a
That's the vampire, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I just didn't like him.
Many did not.
I mean, he worked.
But other than that, he was a fucking mess.
He works is along the lines of he's a nice guy. Stop mentioning it.
No, I don't care what he was like. His equipment did what I needed it to, and that's all he was there for.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant like, oh, he has a job.
Yeah.
No. Like literally his dick did what I needed it to. And that's all that he was there for.
For me, I had a problem. John knows this about me. Jenny, at some point, some people have probably known this about me. I always tended to date guys that didn't have jobs or cars, or have friends that didn't have jobs or cars. Like, that was my thing. Like, I took on the emotional labor for so many fucking people and did all the driving. I paid for everything. I like supported so many broke ass dudes who couldn't even give me good fucking dick in return.
Let's go back to college and beat the shit out of ourselves.
But yeah, we should probably wrap it because this is quite long.
It's been like 2.5 hours. We didn't really set a time limit.
Yeah.
So can I be? Oh no. Can I just like be honest about like John approached me about this last minute and I was super intimidated to meet the both of you because you are other women and there is that stigma I think still like today, and this has helped me so much kind of separate that divide. So like thank you all so much. Like you have no idea how much I appreciate it. I'm gonna be finding y'all on Facebook.
Yes.
Cassy, please show off your shirt. You didn't really mention it.
Yes, I decided to buy a last minute empowered women empower women shirt. And I think that's the part of feminism that gets overlooked a lot of the times, is like that stigma of women are just afraid of other women. And I think to this day, I think there's still some women that are like that are just bitchy to other women. And I think that's like a big part of feminism that really needs work. Because like when I started doing burlesque, I was intimidated by everybody because I was like coming into this world of like these beautiful, amazing creatures. And I was like, I don't belong here. I have imposter syndrome really bad for literally everything. And I think that's something that a lot of women experience in a lot of things too, is imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong. I don't belong at this table. And I think that's something we all need to fight for. Like, I do belong at this table. I do belong here. And I shouldn't be afraid of other women because it's silly. I mean,
find that like even like you look at another woman who is seemingly so beautiful and so confident, she's got a story, you know what I mean? So that's why I try not to, or I've tried to like fight past those urges, because no matter what, like everyone's got a story, everyone's human, you know? And if they're a cunt, then fuck them.
Like even when I first started doing burlesque, like at that show, the Love Sucks show, the first show I ever saw, I thought Massa was like the most beautiful creature. And then like to see how she is right after a show, like she's just in sweats smoking a cigarette.
That's my favorite thing about her.
And she's like super nice. I was so intimidated by her. I was like, she's gonna think I'm like an imposter. She's gonna think I'm weird. Like
not even gonna lie, like, you know, with it being mostly women and femme presenting people doing burlesque, like I really haven't dealt with much like cattiness or drama or anything. But let me tell you, I was in a cover band with all dudes and I was the only girl. I've been in a couple cover bands. That is drama city. You get a bunch of like you know.
How many of them tried to fuck you?
None really, actually. But like I would usually either like in the one band, I didn't even get like, other than being the singer, I had no voice. Like I couldn't decide what decisions we made because like, oh, I'm the girl. I don't really know rock and roll. And then in the second band, they were a little bit older. So they gave me more respect in that way. But at the same time, they were like not used to like a woman. They were the ones who was like, wow, a girl that likes heavy metal. Oh, you know what I mean? Like they like didn't know how to handle themselves. But it's mostly like drama between the guys. It was ridiculous.
Like OTEP, like nothing? Come on.
Yeah, right?
There's plenty of women in rock. There's plenty of women in metal. Like
I guess because maybe they were older and from their generation, like maybe women didn't as much as often take an interest in rock and roll as either a fan or as a performer. You know, like all their girlfriends and wives were like, you know, live, laugh, love. You know what I mean? Which they'll tell you want to be. That's fine. But they didn't realize like women have interest, you know.
What a shock. We have interest.
Cutters.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. Oh, sorry.
No, good.
It's funny that you talk about the fact that the drama usually comes from men. So my husband and my boyfriend work in the same place. And the amount of gossip they bring home at the end of the day is nothing compared to what I've heard from my wife. It's so true that like, we're not the only ones who are catty.
And any fight that I've had with a woman has started from a dude. Men try and pit us against each other too. And that's an issue. Like in the Solar Lounge, how many times were like you and I not talking, or me and Kaylani not talking, or like whatever?
Because he convinced us that we were fighting each other because he didn't want to juggle all of us. If he had told me that my day was Thursday and your day was Wednesday and Kaylani was Monday, I'd be like, cool, I'm not monogamous. I don't get jealous. Don't pit me against my friend. Ugh.
Yeah, I could have avoided a lot of drama in my life. But where are the catty ones?
I mean, there are some cunty women out there too.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not like a rule of thumb that we're the drama, we're the crazy, we're the catty. No, that is not a hard and fast rule at all.
I think that everyone has the potential to be an asshole. Everyone has the potential to be a nice person. Everyone has the potential to be catty. Everyone has the potential to rise above. It doesn't matter what your gender or how you identify, what your sexuality is. Everyone has that inside them. So just like who you choose and what energy you choose to put out into the universe.
And sometimes you're that way just on that day.
Exactly.
Yep. But I mean, maybe you're having a bad day and the other person just doesn't know it.
Tomorrow I will change and today don't mean a thing.
And I just kind of want to normalize being called a bitch isn't a bad thing. If you're calling me bitch, there's usually a reason for that. It's usually because you overstepped your boundaries and I had to be a bitch.
If I call you a bitch, it's usually the highest form of compliment. The only thing higher is cunt.
You're such a slut!
I love the word cunt. Like I actually somehow like I never even really heard that word until I was maybe like, I don't know, like 17 or 18. Like I was like a little bit older the first time I heard it. I'm like, I guess because my dad cursed a lot, but he never used that language, you know? But like, so that it doesn't like deeply hurt me when I hear that word. Whereas like maybe if you grow up hearing a bad word, it can, you know, deeply ingrain in you. So, but like, I fucking love that word. I'd like call me a cunt all day long. It's fine. I'm like this, like call me a cunt and the sky is blue, whatever.
My mom actually introduced me to that word. When I got out of reform school, I was mad at my mom and I'd be like, "You're such a bitch," and she'd be like, "Well, you're a cunt," and I didn't know what she meant. I didn't know what that word was. I had to look it up. I had to Google it, guys. And like Cassy and John will attest. Ever since I've used it as like, "Hi, I'm Jenny, I'm a cunt." And that's just kind of been my thing.
Yes.
Or it's like, "You big slut, good for you."
Oh, if I call you a slut, that's like, I respect you because I also fashioned myself a slut. I think we're on the same level. Respect.
So yeah, we're going to wrap it, I think.
Yeah. This has been amazing.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes. Thank you everyone for participating.
Yes.
Cassie,
I love this.
Yeah. Jenny and Heather, is really nice to meet both of you. And thank you, Cassy and John, for having me on.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you for coming. It was nice to meet you, Angelina and Heather.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Grapes and Dates.
Hit us up on our socials, or you could see us at our website, www.grapesanddatespod.com.
Or you can email us at grapesanddatespod@gmail.com.
We are on the Twitter machine at Grapes and Dates.
I'm G&D_Cassy on Twitter.
I am GND_John on Twitter.
And we are on Instagram at Grapes and Dates Pod. And I am Grapes_Cassie on Instagram.
And I am Grapes_John on Instagram.
And you can find us on Facebook at Grapes and Dates. And we also have Grapes and Dates secret group if you want to join it.
Which is not a very good secret because we tell everyone about it.
Exactly.
Eventually it might end up being more exclusive only for our top fans.
Yes. So get in on that action while you can. And yeah, so we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.